Bright and early on the 5th of September 1944, USS SLATER DE-766 got underway from Pier 1 in Key West, Florida, with sound school students and instructors, bound for the anti-submarine training exercise area. Today, SLATER's crew and students would be tasked with hunting down the World War I submarine USS R-10. Accompanying them was the patrol craft sweeper PCS-1377 and minesweeper USS Device AM-220. Captain Blanc had the con, and the navigator was on the bridge. The three vessels arrived at the operating area at 0845 and commenced exercise 3 Easy. Only one man on the sick list this date, Steward's Mate First Class W.H. Edmonds. 3 Easy was completed at 1455, and SLATER returned to port, mooring to the Orange State Pier. On the 6th, the ship got underway once again. With a special sea detail set, she sailed at 20 knots, bound for the Torpedo operating area, arriving at 0941. TBF Squadron 83 commenced dummy runs on the ship, and this continued for the entire day until she returned to port. Ensign W.R. Barterwick reported for temporary duty, and 7,000 gallons of fresh water was received. This continued on the 7th. At 1337, 3 practice torpedoes were dropped, followed by 4 more at 1358, 3 at 1439, and a final one at 1454. Once finished, SLATER proceeded at full speed to port. En route, Captain Blanc held mast. Seaman First Class Figueredo lost 10 liberties for failing to muster with his duty section, and Seaman Second Class Ronsky was sentenced to confinement on bread and water for 10 days for being late for hammocks and failure to man a special sea detail. After arriving back in port, Ronsky was transferred to the Marine Barracks to serve out his punishment. Later that evening, 60 rounds of 3-inch 50 caliber were received. SLATER returned to the torpedo training area on the 8th. At 12:10, 4 torpedoes were dropped by TBF Avengers. The 3rd torpedo was dropped a little too close and struck the ship. Repair Party Number 1 investigated for possible damage within the ship, and Captain Blanc embarked in the motor whaleboat to inspect the outside and found a large dent at frame 5, 8 feet from the keel. After securing the whaleboat, the exercise was cancelled, and SLATER returned to port. After tying up, the destroyer USS Goff DD-247 moored to her starboard side. Shortly after, SLATER was moved 17 feet forward to make a little bit more room, and just under 11,000 gallons of fresh water was received. The next morning, 2,000 more gallons of fresh water was taken, and both Goff and SLATER got underway. After arriving once again at the torpedo exercise area, Retriever Boat 908 came alongside and delivered 25 Mark V smoke floats. After they departed, the magazines were inspected. C-101M's temperature was slightly elevated at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Seaman First Class Lauder was added to the sick list, and for the next hour, various smoke signals were expended. SLATER then commenced training with TBF Avengers, which went into the night hours. Torpedo training continued into the morning hours of the 10th. At 1345, she began training with a group of PBM mariners, and this ended at 1705, and she returned to the Orange State Pier. Ensign Joseph Blinka reported aboard for duty, and 8,000 gallons of fresh water was received. Split training duty with TBF Avengers and the PBM mariners on the 11th. This included both torpedo training and anti-aircraft practice. A sleeve was towed behind a plane, and SLATER's gunners took great care not to hit the plane. On the 3rd run, the sleeve was shot down. A new sleeve was streamed, but it doesn't look like SLATER's gunners were successful in shooting it down.
And here it comes. The canvas sleeve will be the target.
Following this, Slater commenced a shore bombardment training, and the 60 rounds of 3-inch 50 caliber were expended, and she returned to port. Coxswain Gibson returned to the ship from the hospital. Seaman First Class Carver and Seaman Second Class Miller reported for duty. And there we have another week in the books. Next week, Slater and crew will wrap up their Key West training and sail north for New York City and Casco Bay, Maine. Along the way, a possible attack on the ship will occur. Tune in next week to learn more.